My Morning Coffee.
Good morning, good morning, good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of My Morning Coffee, where the conversation is always hot, bold, organic, and full of flavor. And we have a pretty flavorful guest here with us today, Mr. Philip Smith. The conversation will definitely be hot, and I expect you all to be talking about it. Make sure you chime in when you get a chance. Put your location in the comments. Mr. Smith and Miss Gia are actually in Atlanta right now. I'm in Redondo Beach, California, and we're just happy to be here. So let's start our morning off as we usually do, finding out what's in your cup. Miss Gia, what is in your cup and what have you been up to?
Good morning, y'all. I'm out here in Atlanta, aka Hot Atlanta. I'm surprised. I guess I'm surprising everybody this weekend because Tonya didn't know I was in Atlanta, and I'm sure a lot of other people didn't know, so they're gonna know today. I have coffee in my cup. It's actually afternoon here in Atlanta. It's like I guess like 1 o'clock here, so I'm having a cup of coffee. And you want to know what I've been up to? Well, I've been up to surprising folks.
Sneaking up on folks.
I've been doing a little surprise thing and stuff, ninja mode and stuff, and stealth mode. So I came to Atlanta and I surprised my sister who lives in Atlanta. Her birthday is actually this coming Friday. So I surprised her and showed up. She didn't know I was coming at all, and I really tricked her good. And I tried to get it on video, but of course, operator error. I had my plan worked out. I was even rehearsing how my video was going to go. And I got there and I thought I was on record. And I had some assistance with the video. And somebody asked, "Oh, is your sister going to cry?" I was like, "Oh, no, she's not like that. She's not going to cry at all. She's going to probably be surprised. She's not going to cry." So I get there, ring the doorbell, and unbeknownst to me, she has a ring on her door. So I'm like, oh, damn, she gonna see it's me because she got the damn ring, right? So I'm trying to turn my back so she couldn't see, everything. So she comes to the door and she opens the door and she kind of looks because I told her, I said, oh, my sorority sister's gonna come drop off something to you that you can send to me. I had to, I had my little scheme all together. So when she opened the door, she kind of looked and she kind of startled me. I don't think she knew it was me at first. Then I started talking, and then she realized it was me, and she ran away. She ran away from the door, left me outside in the rain because it was raining. Okay. So I came in, and she was all excited and stuff. And she actually cried, but I didn't get it on video. And so everybody's now mad. All her friends are like, "Oh my God, you didn't get that on video. I wish you would have got it on video and stuff." So that's, so that was really good. So I was happy about that. I was able to surprise her. So I'm out here in Atlanta. I'll be home today. And I came out here to surprise her, but I also got to connect with a few designer friends of mine, Miss Greta Wallace. And also I got to meet in person another designer friend. I met him through him and his wife through Miss Greta. His name is John. So I got to meet Avion and John, and they make fabulous leather goods. So I did that, and also I was looked at a few areas as far as possible relocating out here or buying some property out here. So it was a business trip. So I did a few things, so that's what I've been up to.
I'm sorry. I thought we were done with the whole you moving to Atlanta thing.
Yeah, we are kind of, we were done, but I just wanted to look.
We're gonna have to offline this conversation. You and
me.
Yeah,
we'll have offline and everything. But this thing, what I've been up to. So I left LA this week, and I left the day that my grandson was born. So I missed the whole. Well, I know he was. I was at the hospital, but he was born. But I haven't got to see him in person. So I'm a little jealous because Jeff has already got to hold him and everything. And I'm here in Atlanta. So I can't wait to get back so I can go and see Raphael in person.
That's what you get being fast. You miss out on the good stuff. But I'm sure time with your sister was good stuff. So enjoy the rest of your trip. Mr. Smith, what's in your cup this morning or bowl? And what have you been up to?
I have a little small cup of water because I need to drink and hydrate myself.
And I'm cheating. I'm a little hungry out here. It's in the afternoon, so I got a little food on the side here.
What time is it out there?
It's about 1:12, 1:15.
Yes. Okay. It is the afternoon. Lovely. How's things been going for you? Introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know what you do and kind of how things have been going for you through COVID.
Sure. For everyone, my name is Philip Smith. I'm the national president and founder of the National African American Gun Association. We are a 44,000 member national organization. We have over 100 chapters. On a monthly basis, we have over 800 to 1,000 new members, 60% African American women, and we are growing exponentially. And I'm just really proud to be leading the organization as we grow and get better and better.
I love it. And COVID, how's it been treating you guys?
I'm going stir crazy. Me personally, I love my house. I love my wife, but I need to get out and see some air every once in a while.
Well, Atlanta's a lot more open than California, so I know you might not do well at all if you were out here, huh?
I think and I'm born and raised in California, Vallejo, California. So it's still breaking me, even though we have a little more latitude out here.
I love it. And while I have you, talk about that move to Atlanta from California, because actually our last guest, Miss Erica Bryant, also left California. She went to Clark Atlanta and did a large part of her early career moves there in Atlanta. But that move, that culture change can be a little different. Talk to me about that. How was that for you?
For me, and I'll give you a little backdrop. I had the honor, I was lucky enough to go to Morehouse from 77 and 78. So when I came out here, I was, for the first time in my life, really dipped into the Southern culture. HBCUs, Clark, Morehouse, Morris Brown, fraternities, sororities, that whole feeling I was dipped into, and I loved it. But unfortunately, my father passed my freshman year, so I had to go back to California, ended up graduating from UC Davis, pledged Alpha out there. Really had a good time. But I always told my wife I want to raise my kids in the South, particularly Atlanta. So in 2002, on the way to the Caribbean, we had a stay over. My wife looked at the price of the house and it was over. Within like a year and a half, we were here in Atlanta and bought a nice house and been here ever since. I don't regret it. It's the best move in my life. I've been able to put my kids in an environment where they see positive Black role models. It's just a beautiful place to be. I don't miss California other than the weather. So I'm happy, very happy where I'm at.
Do you still have family out here?
Oh yeah, I got mother, sisters in Fairfield and Sacramento. So a lot of my folks, Oakland.
Okay.
How often do you get back out? How often do you get back out?
Once or twice a year. Usually I come and see my mother, see my sisters, my brothers. But for the most part, I'm a Southern boy now. Grits and gravy.
Grits and gravy. I want to circle back to some of your Atlanta stuff, but before we do that, we want to get and find out what's in Tonya's cup, because Tonya tries to get out of telling us what's in her cup.
Oh, okay. What's in your cup, John?
I'm drinking water, lots of water today with my morning coffee cooler, because I've been sick. I don't know what's going on. I had a little temperature, but it usually happens if I do get sick. It happens around this time of the year. My kids play baseball, and the early part of the season is usually freezing. Okay, like painfully cold outside, and I feel bad saying that for my East Coast people, because I know my cold and their cold is two different things. But man, it hits 50, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And so I've been spending a lot of time outside, and I think it just kind of got to me. So I'm just rehydrating, trying to stay healthy. Probably gonna have a protein shake or something later, but just trying to get it back together. Definitely couldn't miss today with you, because we've been waiting to talk to you, sir.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. I'm thankful that you guys take time to want to talk to me. So I'm all yours.
Love it. So Gia, go ahead. You had something.
Well, no, I was going to ask him a little bit about the Atlanta, by him being from California and moving here. And I was going to ask you actually what parts of Atlanta are you in? Because I'm learning Atlanta. When you say Atlanta, that doesn't necessarily mean you living in Atlanta, the 3 units of Atlanta. There are other little subdivisions, I think, or towns in Atlanta. That's what people get confused when people say, "Oh, I live in Atlanta," and actually you might not really live in Atlanta. So
Correct. That's very correct. Initially, when we moved out here, we moved to Lithonia, and we stayed there for about 8 years. But we've since went from Lithonia to McDonough, Georgia, which is 75 south,
okay,
going toward
I was there.
going the opposite end. Yeah.
Okay, I was there a few days ago. Okay, so probably like if you think about the airport, which about 40 minutes, 45 minutes from the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's nice. It's very, very nice out here. It's very lovely. Really nice neighborhoods. Very, very cool.
Okay.
So, Mr. Smith, tell us about a little bit more about your organization. Guns, Black people and guns. Let's talk about what that looks like and just being able to dispel some of the myths behind it. G is an officer, law enforcement officer. I am actually a gun violence survivor.
Okay.
So the perception of guns in our community can vary, right? So I would love to hear more specifics about your organization in regards to what do you do and how do you dispel the myths about Black people and guns.
Okay. And let's state this first. I want to state this as I enter the discussion with both of you, and I think it's very important. I think it's an honest statement to say there's a negative narrative as it applies to African Americans and guns right now. If someone just says guns and Black folks, typically people have a negative initial reaction. One of the things that the National African American Gun Association does, we address that social narrative by countering that with positive events, a positive organization, and an organization that literally takes what we call a newbie, someone that has never had any interaction with firearms or not, and to teach them lawfully and legally the right way to own a firearm. In terms of going to training, all of our training starts with a safety briefing. We have a certified range officer. We have a range safety officer there also, along with the trainer. So at every step of the way, as you learn about your firearms, and it's just not a one lesson thing, guns, it's a ongoing life training that we believe that you're going to go through. You finally get to the point where you are learning about guns the right way, how to stand, how to hold, which gun is the correct gun for you. Do you need to get a shotgun, or do you want to have a Glock? Do you want to have an AR-15 or AK-47 as your firearm of choice? We go through all those questions with that particular person. So when you're with NAGA, you are getting a holistic view of firearms. You're just not coming in and getting these cool shots with your gun turned sideways and all this other nonsense. You learn how to shoot a gun. And the thing which really separates us from any other organization, you learn about the history of Black arms. We talk about the Buffalo Soldiers. We talk about Nat Turner. We talk about Harriet Tubman. We talk about the Tuskegee Airmen. We talk about the Harlem Hellfighters. So as an African American, that not only are you learning about firearms the right way, the legal way, the lawful way, but you're learning that you're not the first Black person to grab a gun, nor will you be the last. That's the thing that separates us from any other organization, because we train our folks, educate them, dip them into their cultural history, their real history of how firearms have been in existence to liberate our community. And I will say this, and I say this with great pride, I think it's something that really separates us again. We have built very proudly a culture of acceptance within our organization. And this is what I mean. We have a saying in our organization: we agree to disagree, but not disconnect. And that means if all three of us, if we didn't know each other and we came to a NAGA meeting, we were going to join, you can be who you are. You can be Republican, Democrat, straight, gay, rich, poor. You don't have to walk alike, talk alike, and think alike to be accepted. When you come to a National African American Gun Association meeting, we're going to give you a high five. We're going to give you a big hug and say, welcome, brother, welcome, sister, regardless of your race. And you're going to be welcome. And that is something that is very unique about the organization. And that's why we have grown and continue to grow exponentially, not only in the United States, but out of the United States, because we have expats that are still supporting us. They're not even in the country because they believe so strongly in what we believe in, which is universal acceptance of everyone, and universal acceptance for everyone to have the right to protect themselves in a legal and lawful way. And that's a powerful message. That's very, very powerful. And that's the reason I think we've been doing very, very well. And this is something else I want to add. We are 60% African American women. So there's more Black women in our organization than black men right now. And I think that's something that is incredibly powerful.
I don't know. I think Gia froze right there. But
Yeah.
since we were talking about history and guns, we have a movie coming out on the 12th. But you and I being both from the Bay Area, I would love for you to talk about the Black Panthers and their relationship with guns.
It's
and how they were perceived. Actually.
Yes. I was a kid. I was 9 years old. My sister, she wasn't in the Panthers, but she was kind of indirectly involved. She would go to some of the meetings. She would be very much a moral and spiritual supporter of the organization. So I remember going to my older sister's room when I was a kid, and she had the huge picture of Huey Newton sitting on the throne, the bamboo chair, and he has a gun in one hand and he has a spear in the other hand. And I remember that as a child. The Panthers were real. They were totally dedicated to uplifting and protecting the African American community in the Oakland area and surrounding areas. And they had a dedicated group of Black men and women that tried to do that. And I think they were very, very successful until they reached a point where they were infiltrated and they had some issues with the structure of the organization. But I think their initial intent was beautiful. They want to protect our people. And I think anybody that's willing to take that stand should be applauded. Now, obviously, they could have done some things differently, but hindsight's 2020. Anybody can tell you what you should have done after the fact. But I think they did a great job in doing what they were trying to do.
Why is there such a misrepresentation in the media and in society when it comes to African Americans and guns? What is that about?
Because Black people have not, and this is my personal perspective, Black people have not taken ownership of that and control that narrative. If you let someone speak for you, if you let someone put their images of you, if you let someone dictate the pace, the method, and the conversation around firearms, well, of course, it's not going to be you. That's one of the things we do at our organization. If you go on our website and if you look at some of our events, you notice one thing very, very quickly. The images are positive. You see Black men and women. You'll see Black families. You'll see Black couples. You'll see single Black women. You'll see single Black men talking in a very positive way, shooting together, having uniformed discussions and events in a positive way. And that's what we need to do and continue to do. And we shall do that, because when perception becomes reality, that perception can be negative or positive. And unfortunately, in our community, that perception in a lot of cases has been negative. And that interaction initially with a Black person with a gun can be a deathful event for that Black person based on someone else's perception of Black folks with guns. But we're fighting that narrative on a daily basis. It's not a silver bullet, one answer gets all, but we're definitely trying to change that narrative, and I think we are.
I wanted to ask you about kids and guns. Many of us me and some of my girlfriends have talked about getting our kids safety trained so that they understand the damage it can do, but also how to be safe. And I don't know. I want you to talk to me about that. Is that a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Should we educate our kids on guns? Should we just continue to wait until they get 18 to talk about it, or what? Like, give me your insight on that.
I think it's to answer your question, first of all, it's a personal decision for each particular household. I know in my household, I believe that if you have a child, and let's say a child, for the sake of the discussion, is, let's say he's 10 years old, I think it's much better to have a child that's been trained on what to do and not to do with a gun, the dangers of a gun, as opposed to have a child running around that meets up with a gun for the first time and doesn't know how to handle it. Because even though you may not have guns at your house, some of their friends, the houses they visit, there might be guns there. So I'd rather have a child that's prepared for that interaction and say, hey, we can't do that because these are the dangers of the gun. Now, I will say this. Some people are different. Some people believe that you should never have a child around a gun until they're 18 years of age or older. And I respect that. There isn't a one answer to the question. It is a preference for that particular household. I just believe, and especially being in the South where not everyone, but a lot of folks have guns. Mothers pass down the guns to their daughters. Fathers give guns to their sons. when families get together for these huge events, 4th of July celebrations, birthday parties, they have shooting competitions. They hunt together. So guns in the South are viewed much differently than they do in the West or the East. And I know that because I was raised in the West. So it's just a preference of what you want. But I just believe having a child educated on the dangers and the positive way of handling a firearm is the way to go, as opposed to not letting him or her even see the gun or say that's just a bad thing. Because the first thing a child's going to say is, why is it bad? And then the curiosity starts spinning. And then after a while, they might have an interest in touching the gun. And I'd rather have a child, as I said before, that's trained completely on how to interact with that firearm, me personally.
So my first experience with a gun was watching someone shoot my mother.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, I learned to shoot myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think I learned how to shoot first with a BB gun, and then one of my cousins is in the military, and I shot a assault rifle.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like your opinion on. I think there's a struggle with why military type guns should be legal for residents to own. Like, I need you to walk me through that, because there is the Second Amendment, but then there's some level of common sense, right? Like, why does my next door neighbor who lives in Redondo Beach need a military style gun? Like, we ain't at war off PCH. So I need help me with that, because that
Sure.
seems to be something that comes up pretty often in regards to common sense gun reform.
I'm probably one of the most tame, laid back guys you'll probably ever meet. I'm very in the kind of on the fringes. I don't like making a lot of fuss, but I have 3 AR-15s and an AK-47. I think it's my right to have those guns. The reason why I like those guns because they maximize the way you can protect your family. Period. Very simply, they're a very good tool, and it is a tool. Now, some people would say, "Well, Philip, that's a very dangerous gun." That gun is no more dangerous than a hunting rifle. It's a semi-automatic. The way a hunting rifle is a semi-automatic. One time you pull the trigger one time, one bullet comes out. It is not, and I'm gonna repeat this for everybody so they can understand the difference. It is not a machine gun. When you pull the gun, you get multiple bullets coming out. It's a rifle. That's why some people prefer to shoot and hunt with that rifle. The perception is that, and this is we're gonna go in a different direction, but I'll circle back so we can tie the knots here. Some people believe that if you have your focus on the AR-15, that's going to take away all the gun violence. That's the issue. That is not the issue. The issue is that if you try to put a Band-Aid on a horrible problem, and that's the symptom, but the disease is, this is what the disease is. Lack of good schools where kids can get trained. Confrontational relationships with police officers at best. And here's the killer. Felonies, 2 or 3 felonies on some of these kids, these younger folks, by the time they're 24 and 25. So now you have somebody that has no way of interjecting him or herself into society to make money. So what are you going to do? What would I do if I had to feed my family of 4 or 5 kids and my wife, and I've got a felony? I have no skill set. What am I going to do? And I have a confrontational relationship with the officers at best. I tell you what I'm going to do. I don't care if I was in South Central LA. I don't care if I was in East LA. I don't care if I was in South Central or South Chicago or Southwest Atlanta, where I'm at over in this area, or South Boston. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to steal. I'm going to rob. I'm going to stab you. And yes, if I can, I'll get a gun and I'll shoot you. I'll do whatever it takes. So the problem is not the gun. Is the gun a part of that problem? I'd be lying to you if I said no. But it's only a part of the problem. What we need to do is take a step back and look at the real issues, what's going on in society. And people don't want to do that because it's too overwhelming. It's too much of a problem. It's much easier to say the gun's the problem when it's much more than that, to me.
As a law enforcement officer, Gia, what are you thinking? Because I know when you're thinking over there, you're thinking.
I missed some of the conversation because I lost the connection. And
I'm sorry about that.
No, not this part. This prior to, and I have mixed feelings about guns and gun ownership, and I have people who ask me about owning a gun, and I always find it before I became a law enforcement officer, I never picked up a gun a day in my life. Okay, didn't know how to shoot a gun. I learned how to shoot a gun going through the sheriff's academy, and and I know when a lot of things started happening in society, most recently with the police and everything, everybody was talking about, oh, I want to get a gun, I'm going to own a gun, and I always ask people, why do you want a gun? You know, what's the reason? And you're talking about, most people when they talk about a gun, they talking about they want to get a Glock, a 9mm, a 38, something like that, something they can carry with them on their person, as opposed to these assault rifles that you were talking about a few minutes ago. They're two different guns, okay? And the average woman is not talking about she wants to own an AR-15 or anything like that. She's probably talking about a gun to go in her purse, a Smith & Wesson, a Glock, a Beretta, something like that. And I'm always curious because, and I get a lot of different reasons why they want a gun, and like you said, guns are dangerous and it's a huge responsibility. And I think a lot of people don't think about the responsibility. They just like to be able to say, oh, I can carry a gun, or I own a gun, I have a gun in my possession. But there's responsibility. Like you said, a lot of you guys have kids, and it's responsibility. If I have a gun at home and I have kids in my home and I have my kids' kids in my home, I have to always be cognizant of that. I have a gun in my home and things like that. And some people get complacent and they'll have their gun where they know their gun is to get it for protection of their home. And then you have these kids, the curiosity of, oh, there's a gun. My mommy and daddy owns a gun. See, look what happens. And then sometimes bad things happen. So and I own a gun, and I used to always say when I retire, when I retire, I'm giving the county back all the equipment. That was my mindset, because it's a responsibility. I can't go, I want to go enjoy my sometime, but I remember, oh, I got this gun with me, and sometimes it becomes a hindrance. It's like, oh, if I got it in my purse and I want to go in places and people want to look at my purse, oh, she got a gun. Now you got to go explaining some stuff. Why do you got the gun? Everybody gets all nervous. Oh, shoot, she got a gun. And I'm licensed to carry a gun. And so, I just, I get it. And like you said, it's a matter of preference. Some people, they have all kind of reasons why, they should have a gun. Being out here in Atlanta, looking at how some of these houses are situated, I think if I lived out here, I probably would have a gun, a rifle or something to protect my home. Protect someone coming into my home. But I don't think I'm gonna be riding around a car with this rifle in my car when I'm going to the mall to buy me some shoes.
And I respect that. I respect that. I think, and I one thing when I have discussions, I don't want to make it like you're right, I'm wrong, you're right. But yeah. I like hearing different perspectives, and we all work together to have a common, respect for each other, and have hopefully some points where we can connect. I just truly believe, if you look at the history of Black folks, when I put on my little seminars and I have conversations with some of the younger folks, one of the first questions I ask everyone is this: Imagine this, that every Black person that came off a slave ship was given a gun and a box of ammo. Just imagine that for a second. What do you think our history would look like right now in 2021? I'll tell you, it'd be dramatically different. And you know why? Because we would have the right to protect ourselves. And more importantly, we would have the means to protect ourselves. When you continue to put yourself as a soft target out in society, you know what's going to happen? People are going to continue to attack you. They're going to continue to lynch you. They're going to continue to kill you. When you're going to be on a Sunday jog and you want to look at a house like George Aubrey down in Georgia, he's just had a nice, relaxing Sunday. Like my wife and I do many, many Sundays, looking at a house. A brand new house is being built. He just looked to take a look at it, walked out and kept jogging. And next thing you know, he had 3 gentlemen, and I'm putting those words loosely, stop him in a truck, shoot and kill him. Now, just imagine if George Aubrey would have had a gun to at least have an opportunity to protect yourself. We can't continue down the road of thinking somebody's going to come and save us. And I'm not talking any big guy, tough or macho stuff. I'm talking about common sense. Every other community that is strong in this country has firearms, but us. But for some reason, when it comes to Black folks, we don't need to have a gun. It's too dangerous for you all because you guys you just can't handle that. The Second Amendment really doesn't apply to you. You're kind of a discounted citizen. You're kind of a sub-American, but you all don't need it. Every other community has guns and they're solid as a rock, but you guys just don't need it. I think that's the wrong way to think. And I think that's the very reason we're in the position we are politically, economically, and more important, culturally, because we have taken on this mindset that we don't need firearms.
Well,
And we
well,
do need firearms. We need firearms more than anybody. More than anybody in this country ever. The history of this country shows us that Black people should always have a firearm at all times. To me.
Okay, so when you say, well, I think the First Amendment says any American should have the right to bear arms, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you say, we're the only community who are not allowed to have guns, I don't get what you're saying now. Because if I want to go out and buy a gun, and I should be able to go out and purchase a gun, correct?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I misspoke there. When I say not allowed, we're mentally told not to go get it.
Okay,
you're correct. You can go get a gun. Any African American can attempt to go get a gun. You may not get one, but you can go try to get one. You're correct in that assessment.
Right. And the reason why we probably can't get one is probably because if we have some kind of criminal record, that might hinder us in purchasing a gun legally.
And I'll say this:
there are counties that make it a little more difficult for certain people, right?
Extremely difficult.
The laws are not the same. The permit requirements are not the same. So I can see what he's saying in that. Who do we have this morning? Kimberly Eubanks. She said it's harder for African Americans to get a gun permit in Clayton County. That's a real thing.
But why is it harder? What's on the books that says because of skin color of my skin, I can't get a gun? Is it something else that's?
Yes, that's a great question. Let me address that.
Because it almost sounds like voter support.
This is the reason why. Because in a lot of these little counties throughout America, the person or group that makes the decision to whom gets a gun and who does not get a gun is either a sheriff or a group of sheriffs or a small committee that is typically white. I'll give you an example. There was a lawsuit in Chicago. A number of Black men were being denied the rights to get a concealed carry. These brothers had good jobs. They had good credit. They had no background issues, no criminal record. They were clean as a whistle. But all of them, for some reason, quote unquote, were being denied. And the reason was it eventually came out that they were African Americans. So that was addressed.
Right. So that needs to be addressed in the changing of the laws. That kind of thing. But when people,
it happens. It happens.
What I'm saying is when we throw out stuff, it's hard to do this. We're not throwing out all the information, like you said. Okay, that was a racial thing, and it's being addressed, and it should be addressed. These were African American men, no criminal record. Mm-hmm. So, but the laws and where they were at said that was the reason why they wasn't going to give them one, because they were African American. So that's being addressed right now. But as we all know, like there are laws in all our states and counties and stuff that say different things, but there are other things too in our backgrounds, not just our skin color, that that stops us from getting being able to. And that's the stuff that needs to be addressed. Is the laws. We need to tackle these laws, and try to change those so we all can, if we choose so, be able to go out and own a firearm.
I'm not arguing those points at all.
So listen, while we're on some of the changes that need to take place, we want to look at this new administration, and I'm sure that there's going to be some type of legislation that comes out or is at least proposed for changes, right, in common sense gun laws. I would love for both of you to answer what common sense gun laws, what changes would you be in support of?
You want me to go first, or
yep.
Yeah? It's funny how you frame that, because everyone's different. Obviously, I have a different perspective. Oh, I'm not obviously, but I assume I do. I believe that the following. Now, I'm going to speak for my organization and for myself, because I think they're one and the same. I think in getting a gun, you should be allowed to get any type of semi-automatic gun. If you have never beat a woman, don't have any type of domestic violence. If you have a domestic abuse in your record, I don't care what the circumstances, you don't ever need to get a gun, because you've shown legally that you have a temper issue at some point that that may or may not come up again, and we can't take that chance as far as society. If you have displayed some type of negativity where you're going to attack the government or police officers or military, you don't need a gun. I'm just going to put it out there. You have to be someone that is stable, sane, responsible, somebody that's going to keep my babies. And I got 3 babies out there that are driving and living in America. I want my kids to feel safe the way I feel safe. So those, I think, are good steps to start common sense discussions regarding laws. But definitely domestic abuse, any type of past history where you are attacking the police, or any type of felonies of a violent nature, I don't think you need to have a firearm. And I want to distinguish violent felonies versus non-violent. If you're someone that has written bad checks because your family's hungry,
right,
that's different to me.
Different, yeah.
Because I as a younger child, my folks were in that situation.
Yeah.
A lot of my people were in that situation. If you're a person that is just trying to, I'm not going to try to validate or advocate selling drugs, but you're trying to sell drugs because you got to eat. To me, that's a different discussion. But if you're somebody out there shooting folks, knocking in heads, raping, killing, pillaging, you don't ever need to get a gun. And I would be back that type of legislative support 100%. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, then it's a discussion that we need to put on the table and talk about the details. So that's just my perspective.
Officer Sneed.
I agree with a lot what Phil was saying about the criminal history aspect of it. Like if you have a criminal history of violent felony criminal history, you shouldn't be able to own and possess a gun. Even if you have mental health issues, that needs to also come into play. And you should be able to legally own a firearm. I'm all for gun ownership. I'm all for anybody whoever wants to own a gun. That's their desire to do that. But again, just like anything, sometimes when we have things on our possession, it's like kryptonite to us, and we're not responsible with it, and we have a tendency to be jealous sometimes. And I'm speaking, for civilians and even people, law enforcement, that we've seen and recently. You give young men and women badge and a gun, you give them authority to go out and enforce laws, and sometimes they overdo it. They get overzealous with it, and things get out of hand, and hence we have all these bad things that have been happening at the hands of law enforcement officers. So I think if we're gonna have the laws, we could change laws, but education should be a really big piece in the law. And I would take a little psychological test somewhere in there, because again, that your psyche comes into play when you're using a gun, owning a gun. That has to say about you too, how you respond. And so I would ask for things like that to be in there. No violent felonies. Is that me with the background? I hear back.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say, just go back through it. If violent felonies, no. If you have a history of mental illness, no. And we should have an educational component to the law change, and a psychological component.
Can I add something here? This is really not a question, but it's on my mind, and I just got to get it out here. One of the things that, especially me being raised in California, now that I live in the South, I noticed the big difference. Sometimes you can legislate and financially punish those who need firearms the most. And I'll give you an example. I talk to a lot of single Black women across this country every day, and a lot of them have limited income. And I talk to a lot of Black seniors every day that have limited income. And when you have a structure where, and I know the intent, but the result is quite different. If you have to take a class and you have to pay $200 for that class, and you have to pay for registration to get your certification, it costs you another $300. That $400 gun now becomes $900 with taxes and license. And for a lot of marginally income folks, they cannot afford to get that gun now. to me, you're denying them their Second Amendment rights financially. You're doing it in a very indirect way, but the end result is the same. They're still not able to get a gun. I don't think that's right. I do not think that's right, because the people that need the gun the most is that single mother living in a quote unquote hood, or that senior citizen that is alone and needs protection. So we need to have laws that are fair, that are balanced, and they make everyone have the opportunity to get a firearm. One of the things that I'm really upset about, and one of the reasons why I probably would never return to California, because of the laws that they have in place now that really prevent minorities who don't have a lot of money to get a gun. You got to take a class, you got to pay for the class, you got to have to register to pay for your ammo, you got to do all these steps before you actually get to the gun. There's a 15 or 10-day or 30-day waiting period before you get your gun now. That's problematic, and I think that's denying someone's Second Amendment rights, me personally, because you're hurting the folks, our folks, Black folks, the most.
I wanted to agree with you about the domestic violence individual being able to have a gun. I absolutely think it's common sense to not let someone that has beat their wife or spouse get a gun. When I was young, my uncle used to beat my auntie, and this fool has a gun and he has a legal right. And the police have been called on several occasions. And when he started feeling himself or get doped up, he want to pull out his gun. And kids could be around, even if he didn't shoot her or anybody in the house, just pulling it out to intimidate is like, what's wrong with you? But there has been times when it has popped off. So I definitely feel like domestic violence, anybody that has a domestic violence record should not have a gun. And if you have one, it needs to be stripped. Absolutely. Susan Daniels asked, I was once told when you own a gun, you have to be mentally prepared to take a life. Not that you will, but it could be a possibility. Do you believe that?
You want me to answer? Yes. When I bought that gun, and I'm not a violent person. I'm typically, I like getting along folks. I love the global community. I love everybody. But there are those individuals within that community that do not have your best interest. My job is to protect my wife and my kids. That's my priority. And God forbid, if for someone to break into my house at 2 a.m, I would have to make that decision. It would be a very tough decision, but I would do it in a heartbeat, because that's my family. I'm not going to let somebody rape and kill my daughter and my wife and my son and kill me because I'm scared to pull the trigger, because they're depending on me. My heart would weigh heavy, but I would do it. To me, the alternative is worse than not being able to have a gun and some guys break in. That's a nightmare scenario for me. And that's just, that's how I see it on that.
And for me, I have always been anti-gun in my house. Like, oh my God, never. Not happening. And the older I got and the more into my motherhood that, I started to flourish, these feelings of, how do we even say it? It's just super protectiveness. I am vigilant about my kids. I am vigilant about my family. And I have come to the point, actually, we had someone knocked on my door one night and it was late. We ain't in college no more. This ain't the dorms. Ain't no steps.
Right.
Ain't no after party. What are you knocking on my door for at 11 o'clock? We don't do that.
Right.
And there was just a moment where I was like, I'm going to go to this door, but I really wish I had something to take with me in the case that somebody is at my door that shouldn't be here. Unfortunately, I've had to experience that before. Maybe there are those that have not. But in that moment, I had decided, yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time. And I'm someone also that to get over my fear, I'll go confront it. Right. So when I was in college, I used to be scared of snakes. So I went and bought a snake and I was raising the snake in my dorm. Darius, if you are watching, who happens to be your fraternity brother, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I felt like I really needed to get over this fear. And I have had a paralyzing fear of guns for so long based on my childhood but that also incentivizes me to go learn, get all the education you can on it, educate your children on it, and move forward in the safest way. But not having it is like, I don't think that's an option anymore because folks is crazy.
Can I tell you a little story?
Yes.
I was in Atlanta, my wife and I, on I think a Saturday evening. It was like about 3 in the afternoon, and we were driving. And my wife has a nice car. She makes a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money, but my wife makes a lot of money. And we were driving. I was driving the car, and of course, we had a flat tire. So we pulled up in a rougher part of the town of Atlanta, and it's got kind of an abandoned road, empty strip center where they had, I guess, at some point they sold cars. So I'm fixing my right rear tire, and it's facing the street. So I looked over and I saw a young man. I'll say he was a young man, and he was walking. He just stopped and he turned and looked directly at me across the street. I mean, he looked right at me and my wife, and he kind of laid back on the fence. And he was just watching me. And then, so I'm kind of, I'm just trying to get this tire fixed, and I'm just watching him, my peripheral vision, and I see him picking his phone up and he's talking to somebody. So about 5 minutes later, another gentleman walks up to him, and all this time my wife is fussing at me about the tire. She's oblivious to anything else. She's just fussing at me. This is your fault. You didn't change the tires. You bought cheap tires anyway. Fill up. How bad. I'm just a horrible husband, and I'm just like, I'm getting beat up over here, and I'm scared about what's happening across the street. My wife doesn't care about anything, but she's directing her focus, as you young ladies know, toward me. So I am looking at this guy, and I see this other brother walk up, and they're literally at this point, both of them are lined up about 50 feet across the street looking at me. And one had a hoodie, and they're talking amongst themselves, and then he took his hoodie and he popped it up like this, and they both looked at each other, and they start walking toward my wife and I. At that point, I didn't have any proof. I never talked to them. There was no exchange of words. I just quietly got up and took my left hand and took my wife and pushed it to my side. So I'm protecting my wife, and my wife is protecting her car, which she believes and loves more than anything. So I just had to add that in. So as the guys got closer, I pulled my shirt back, and I had a 45. So I let them know when they saw that I had the 45, their eyes got kind of big. I didn't say anything. I didn't look at them directly, but I just went like this, pulled my shirt back, and I'm kind of looking at them peripherally, and I know they see the gun. So at that point, one went to the left, one went to the right, and they both walked down the street. Now, I can't say for certain they were going to come toward me, but I had a sense that if they didn't see that gun, that my wife and I would be in a different position, in a different conversation with them. So I say all that to say, a gun properly utilized with somebody that knows what they're doing, not that I'm an expert, can save your life. And to your point about irresponsible ownership, is it out there? Obviously it is. And I'd be lying to both of you if I said it otherwise. But you need to have a level balanced discussion, and more importantly, a level balance of understanding what your firearm can and cannot do, and when not to use it. I believe in the Second Amendment wholeheartedly. I believe anybody should be able to have a firearm. I really do, within reason, as we talked about, within a certain parameter. Domestic violence, felony, those type of things. I think that's common sense, and it makes sense to me. Some would differ, but that's just my perspective. But I also believe that if you are going to have a gun, use your common sense. I'm not going to carry AR-15 in Georgia and go to shop at Macy's. Now, you can do that if you want. I don't want to do that. You can open carry in Georgia. People do it all day long, but I don't want to. And I know Black men and women that do that every day. Feel this is my right, my Second Amendment right? Cool, that's great. I just don't think it's a smart move, me personally, but I'm just a big advocate for the Second Amendment as a whole, but it's a personal choice of how you apply it. But we should not be penalized for our belief in the Second Amendment.
I agree. So real quick, I want you to tell me, what does Black history mean to you? And being a member of A5A, how does that all fit in to your life right now?
It's powerful. It's powerful. As you know, I bleed the black and old gold. As a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, it's just a proud moment knowing that my brothers are intimately integrated into the history of America and Black history. Also, as the national president of the National African Gun Association, I'm very proud because I know for all of us, we have Ida B. Wells, we have um, all the Black folks who have died for us to get to this point. The Nat Turners, the Tuskegee Airmen, the Harlem Hellfighters, the Buffalo Soldiers, the list goes on and on. The 54th, the movie that Denzel made. Those are real live people that they had those stories about. And that's our living history. And that's something to be very, very proud. I mean, I love being an African American. I love it. I embrace it. I eat it up. That's why I wanted a Black wife with Black kids in a Black neighborhood in a Black city. I love it. I recently went to Tanzania, and it just amplified my appreciation for my African American heritage and also my African heritage because there's a connection. It just means so much. This is a special month for us. I'm not one of those people that says I don't like Black History Month. I love Black History Month because it amplifies the contribution that we have made as a people to this country on every level: doctors, nurses, researchers, engineers, legal minds. All the things that Black folks have done has been for this country. And I just want people to know that and appreciate that. We are beautiful people. There's no other group of folks, to me, that are as smart, as creative, as strong, as determined. It doesn't even get close to me. And so I'm very proud, especially this month being Black History Month.
I love that. Last question before I let you go. I wanted to see where we are right now. Black Greek life. You know, we're both Zetas. You're an Alpha. It used to be very prominent in our communities, and it seems to have lost a little bit of its cachet. Can you talk to me about how we can elevate our status, our organizations, and our place in Black history and present day history, because it's important?
I talk to a lot of frat brothers, a lot, and I'm telling you right now, and a lot of the Divine Nine as a whole. If we don't start getting these Black kids to college, we're not going to have a Divine Nine. There are going to be no alphas, no Qs, no zetas, no AKAs, no deltas, no sigma gamma rhos. We have to get them to college. So that means we got to take a step back, roll our sleeves up. And I'm speaking, this is aside from guns, this is just me being a Black man in America right now who's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. If we don't start saving these Black young men and women, we are not going to have fraternities and sororities, Black fraternities and sororities in the future. We need to start saving them at the junior high level, elementary school level. We need mentors. I know a lot of people got nice cars. Take your nice car, put it in the garage. On the weekend, go to a school, do some tutoring. There's some brilliant young kids out here, brilliant, that just need a little bit of a push. Not a lot, just a little bit to say, you know what? I don't have a dad. I don't have a mom. You know, can you help me? Just talk to them. Take them out for ice cream. Be someone that they can lean on. Because if we don't do that, our future in this country is going to look very, very bleak when it comes to Greek life. And I'm a person that when I went to Morehouse, I'm going to tell you right now, in 77, 78, I'm showing my color, but I was so overwhelmed. I went on the yard at Spelman. I had never seen that many pretty Black women in my life. I got on the phone and called all my boys in California and said, you Negroes got to come out here right now. I was overwhelmed. I didn't want to leave. My parents had to call the police after 3 weeks because I didn't call home. That's the God's honest truth. So if I felt that way, and I had such a positive, experience meeting Marty King III, meeting some of the big folks, Maynard Jackson, walking into my French class, and I remember my eyes got big. This is somebody I'd seen on the magazines. This is the mayor of Atlanta. He's walking in, I'm just like in awe. Little did I realize his sister was my French teacher. And I was just like, just overwhelmed. I want other African Americans to have that experience as well. But to have those continued experiences generation after generation, we have to churn out our superstars. We have to churn out those Black kids that might be the diamond in the rough. I was not a stellar student, never have been. But one thing I know how to do is grind. But I had some folks that helped me grind. I had some older folks say, okay, so you need to do this to get over it. You can't pass this physics. Well, this is what you need to do to pass. You can't pass that algebra. This is what you need to do. And we're losing our mentors for these next generation of kids. And we got to do something because, like I said before, we are not going to have any Greek life, period, unless we start stepping up and sacrificing a little bit on the weekend and weekday. So,
Gia, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with him. Mentorship is very important. And membership on the undergraduate level is equally important. And he's right. If we don't get these kids to colleges and stuff, Greek life is for Black Greek life, it's gonna diminish greatly. So yeah, I agree, and I really love the fact that he's all the whole mentorship. We need to, like you said, there's a lot of kids in these inner cities who don't have mom or dads, don't have mentors, and they're very highly intelligent. They just don't have anybody there pushing them to bring that out, and they kind of get they get missed a lot, and then that's when they end up doing things they probably shouldn't be doing because they're being missed and stuff. So we need to program in the communities for our kids, for our youth and stuff, so they can thrive. So
I love that. So, Mr. Smith, what do you have coming up, and how can the people connect with you, follow you, all that good stuff?
Sure. If anyone doesn't know about our organization, go to www.naaga.co. First and foremost, learn about the organization, see what we're doing. Even if you don't want to join, just educate yourself on NAGA. So if someone says, what's NAGA, you can at least have a talking point, first and foremost. Secondly, I believe that our organization is on the cusp of greatness. February 28th of this month is our 6-year anniversary. We are now at the point now where we are exponentially growing. I could easily see our organization at 100,000 within the next 2 or 3 years. The presence of Black women is instrumental and will continue to be, and we're going to maximize that because our sisters need our help. So I think we're in a great position after a 6-year run, and I think for the next 6 years, we're going to do a lot more great things, particularly in our community. We're going to educate our folks the right way. We're going to have interesting conversations like we're having today, which I think are very healthy because the bottom line, we get a better product at the end of the day. And we have connections because I'm all about working collectively together. Doesn't mean we're going to have a kumbaya moment where everybody kind of goes around and holds hands, but it does mean we have some intellectual discussions where we massage each other mentally and make each other think outside the box. So I think we're in a good spot, and hopefully in the next few years, NAGA can do more like we've been doing in the past.
I love that. You're on LinkedIn and Instagram too, right?
Mm-hmm. LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm not too much of a Twitter guy, but you see me our national organization there, and just definitely follow us. We have a lot of stuff going on this month for Black History. Every month or every day, we'll have a new information about some point of Black history as it relates to firearms. So I think it'd be very educational for anyone nationwide to latch on.
All right, I love it. What's going on with you, Miss Gio?
Oh, nothing. I don't really have anything going on other than I'm going to be at the Melanin Market on this coming Saturday. They've opened the market back up for vendoring, so I'll be there from 10 to 5 for Black History Month. So you guys come out in Los Angeles, the Melanin Market at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall near the Taco Bell. We'll be in that area in between the Taco Bell and the theater. A lot of great vendors will be there, so come out and support. And that's pretty much all I have going on. You can always find me on Facebook, The Mahogany Box, or Instagram, The Mahogany Box, or you can check out you can also catch my personal page, Gia Neal, on Facebook.
I love it. And for me, you guys know you can always find me at Sand and Shores on all media platforms or Tonya McKenzie PR. We are simply working with our clients to help elevate their message and make sure that, we are telling our stories to our target markets and trying to change the world and leave it better than we got it. So, if you guys are out there and you've tuned in, stay in contact. If there's something that we can do to help you out, to elevate your message, get at us. We really believe in supporting each other. And with that,
before we go, Tonya, I forgot. The melanin market has been rebranded, and I'm sorry, the new name is nothing but black. Flee. So come check me out at Nothing But Black Flee, aka the melanin market. Great name.
All right, nothing but black. All right,
fancy.
Yeah,
Real fancy, sir. Make sure you keep in touch with us, please.
Yes,
and
ma'am,
all the
I will do.
things that you have going on for the rest of Black History Month. We want to make
Yes,
sure that
ma'am.
we share that with our readers. So you guys be on the lookout for that. We'll see you next Monday. Yeah. Oh,
right.
we have the
Thanks for having me.
coolest guest next Monday. He happens to be a member of Kappa Alpha Psi and has done so much in Southern California. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but be on the lookout. You all right, sir?
I got a little choked up here. I thought I heard something.
Water?
Okay.
You need some
I'm
water?
all right. I'm all right. I got my cup. I just felt something. I got my cup right here.
All right.
I love it.
All right.
All right, guys. You take it easy, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
Night.